to hold the applause till the end. Isn't that what they always say?
No, man.
How many debates have you been to?
This is the second fight I'm talking about. You know, y'all clap whenever you want it. You know what I mean? This is like church. Clap whenever you want it. All right?
Mr. Hitchens.
No. All praise belongs to Allah. I think I can see what's in store for me, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, comrades and friends. Yet another soiree of humiliation, beginning by not just being out-talked, out-pointed in point of precedence. Some people from Oxford are very sensitive about who speaks first, fortunately, and out-argued, and above all, perhaps outdressed. I have the feeling that many of you here would like to begin an inquest upon Iraq policy, if there's going to be one, which there clearly is, approximately in 2002, and as it were, put it all on the Bush administration. And while I know that that's what you'd like, I'm not going to allow you to have it. So I know I'm not going to get any applause. I was right about that. The fact of the matter is, and I think it's the beginning of wisdom as well as the beginning of responsibility, that our involvement with Iraq, ours as a people as well as a state, goes back a lot longer than that and has stuck us with some responsibilities from which we are not entitled to walk away. I'm not sure where I would date the beginning of this commitment, this mutual relationship we have with the Iraqi people, but it couldn't be any later than September or so 1979, early 1980, when President Jimmy Carter, the great human rights Baptist person, gave Saddam Hussein American permission for an invasion of Iran, which we think cost 1.5 million lives of young men on both sides, probably more. If you want to talk about collateral damage and civilian casualties, see how the Muslims love each other when they go to war, especially in the name of God, and see what a hecatomb was wrought by the good intentions of American liberals on that occasion, and what a debt we have incurred. I would date it a little earlier if I could, I think, to the role boastfully played by the Central Intelligence Agency in the coup that brought Saddam Hussein to power in the first place. But if we were to not take this back into the prehistory of our generation, the latest we can begin scrutiny is 1991, with the emancipation of the Kuwaiti people from their annexation as the 19th province of a fascist state by Saddam Hussein. Not the invasion of Kuwait, as it's sometimes falsely stated, but the abolition of Kuwait, the obliteration of Kuwait, the removal of a member state of the United Nations, of the Arab League and of the non-aligned movement, and its full possession by another power, by sheer force of arms. Saddam Hussein has only ever made in the course of his career one self-criticism, and it was this. He said, I wish I had got the nuclear bomb before I invaded Kuwait, because then they couldn't have got me out of there. You have to realize that in 1991 we didn't know it, but he had the choice of which he got first. It's fortunate for us that he was not a rational actor, but it was a demented one. If he had got Kuwait, he'd have been very easily possessed of the resources to finish the reactor, which the French had so helpfully begun building for him, and to dictate terms to us. And there would have been nothing amusing about that, either for us or the neighbors of Iraq in the region. That's what we skipped through no luck, or rather no credit, only by luck, no credit to our own statecraft or our own intelligence. Now, since that date, and since the eviction of Saddam Hussein from Kuwait, there has been a very careful, scrupulous, ruthless, hard-fought debate, which all of you, if you don't know about, should have educated yourselves about. Not conducted just in Washington, but in learned journals and on the internet and in public forums, going on for about 12 years. So the debate was this. Were we right to confirm and leave Saddam Hussein in power after his eviction from Kuwait, re-establish him in effect in power, watch with our own military superiority as we gave his own helicopter gunships permission to re-establish control, a genocidal, fascistic control over the Iraqi people? Was that the right decision or not? And because it entails this too, was it right to put the Iraqi people under 12 years of suffering and misery and damage of sanctions, while the Saddam Hussein regime was able to build one palace in every single province remaining, the other 18 provinces of Iraq, dedicated to the wealth of a psychopathic and sadistic crime family? Was that the right decision or not? Many of us came soberly, but firmly to the conclusion that that had been wrongly decided. Saddam Hussein should have been removed from power in Iraq in 1992. And we've been looking, some of us, for an administration that would face this fact. And it was, whenever any administration was going to come to power that was going to be capable of facing this fact, we would have to admit that it was going to be too little and too late, and probably botched by definition. But that we had to cancel the shame of prolonging the wretched experience of having Iraq governed by a country, by a government that has, I'll do this quickly, broken all the four conditions under which state sovereignty is sacrificed by international law. International law, sir.
Let me just say
these
this.
four conditions.
That's what the United Nations decide.
These four.
Can you,
these four conditions.
These
12 minutes. I'm speaking back.
These four conditions, in point of fact, are adumbrated by the United Nations, and they comprise the following: if a state conducts aggression or annexation of territory of neighboring states repeatedly, as Iraq had done with Iran and Kuwait, if it does that, it puts itself outside the law, qualifies its sovereignty. That's a UN decision, not mine. If it violates the Genocide Convention, in other words, undertakes the destruction of a whole people within its borders or outside them, as was done in Iraqi Kurdistan, all countries that sign the Genocide Convention, which is the majority now and includes our own government, are obliged by law to intervene either to prevent or, if they cannot prevent, to punish the attempted genocide. The third condition is lying to inspectors about the Non-Proliferation Treaty, any violation, in fact, of the Non-Proliferation Treaty, any fooling around with or promiscuous use of, let alone, weapons of mass destruction. And the fourth is giving aid, comfort, support, and material aid to international gangster groups who target civilians. Iraq is multiply guilty on all those four conditions, as I will hope I don't have to illustrate to you. I'll take these as assertions uncontradicted so far. I will accept any challenge on them. This is a very grave state of affairs and had gone on for very much too long, and the Iraqi people were suffering what have to be called very serious civilian casualties as a result of the decision to leave that regime in power and to punish only the citizens of the country. The figures, I think, may have been exaggerated, but there's no doubt that many tens of thousands of needless deaths of Iraqi children were recorded as a result of the denial of medicine, of clean water, of food, and of other basic necessities, as well as many other older Iraqis. The figure, however large or small it is a terrifying one to contemplate. Well, we've lifted the sanctions now and punished the regime instead. And it seems to me it was about time that that policy reversal took place. And the case for that was absolutely complete in 1998, when the Senate passed the Iraq Liberation Act without a single dissenting voice, that it shall be the policy of the United States to move Iraq into a post-Saddam Hussein era. A very sane, publicly debated, well-considered policy that received Senate ratification after the ventilation of an enormous amount of evidence. In other words, there's no need to confuse this with matters such as jihad. You'll tell me, Mr. Wolf, when I've trespassed on the audience's time, won't you? Perhaps another couple of minutes. Could you stand the drone any longer than that? What's the clapping for, I wonder? The decision to reverse American policy and to decide to be the emancipator of the Iraqi people, to help them write a constitution, to protect them from fascist attacks while they had a democratic election, to attempt to federalize the differences between them, which can otherwise only be solved by civil war or partition or dictatorship. This is a very honorable thing the United States has done and is doing with its allies. And it's a nice change to be doing that to liberate the people and lock up the dictator. Obviously, some of you preferred it the other way around, or were happier when it was that way, or think Saddam Hussein was framed up, perhaps. I love it when people say that a serial criminal has somehow been unjustly accused. Well, we'll get to that, I've no doubt. But my macro point hasn't come yet. Not only is that a great thing in change of policy, in my opinion, the greatest change in policy of a sitting administration since Ronald Reagan decided that mutual assured destruction was both immoral and unstable. A huge decision that was, again, very, very much missed, including by me, I have to say, at the time. A decision of immense significance for the region and for us and for our future responsibilities in confronting a very deadly foe. So what I think I find, oddly enough, in Dr. Playthell's extremely eloquent and touching address was, despite his many references to the great dramas of history and the struggle for liberty, that he should miss so much the way in which this is a historical struggle for us too, and by some Hegelian alchemy that I'm still trying to analyze properly, the United States has managed to get itself, long overdue, on the right side of history in the region and deserves support in having done so. Thanks awfully. Bye.